Happy Monday. Welcome back. Let's talk Broncos. Bree Macis, Joey Richards, Zach Seegers. Guys, the tank is in doubt. Broncos win again against the Packers at home. Listen, there's too many Packers fans around me. I'm not happy about it, but I am happy about a Broncos win. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm feeling okay. I feel pretty good. Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me. I feel like I'm kind of playing both sides of the fence here. I would have preferred the Broncos to lose for draft position, truthfully. Say it a million times on this podcast. But at the end of the day, it's also hard to just be like furious about the Broncos losing or winning. So, yeah, I don't know. Right when, guys, I saw all the teams lose to set the Broncos up for better draft position, what did I do? $75 straight on the Broncos. Guys, Broncos country, protect your mental health. Put some money on what you don't want to happen, just a little bit, and then if it doesn't work out, at least you got the dub.
Yeah, it's always sunny meme. I'm playing both sides, so that way I always come out on top. It's it's smart probably for Broncos fans at this point. I'm in the same boat. I was really annoyed at first because it was like, oh my god, you had a golden opportunity to put yourself in like pole position for one of these premium picks. And I'll go on a rant about this later, but it's not about the quarterback. It's about that is a high value pick. Do with it whatever you want. I don't care. It's a more valuable pick than if you go 6-11. That's what it is for me. Like if it's like this game ends up being the difference between them going 5-12 or 6-11, and it results in them missing out on a blue chip prospect, like that would suck. You know, we highlighted the example on Twitter. Shout out Joey for putting the idea in my head. But looking at the Trey Lance trade, the difference for the 49ers there was 2 wins, and it cost them 3 first-round draft picks. So I think that's the concern. But again, that's a problem when you start getting up to 6 wins. And looking at the Broncos' remaining schedule, it's hard to imagine them getting up there. So, like, savor the 3 or 4 fun Sundays we're going to have this year. You know, like, how many fun Sundays are we going to have? Soak them up.
How many Sundays are we going to have? I mean, the Patriots just pulled a big one. So is that a winnable game anymore? I'm not sure, but I'm not going to lambast the fan base for being excited about a win. And I'm not going to complain when people are excited for a loss, because you know what? There is no right way to be a fan. And I know that there's some top heavy rules. You kind of have to wear the team colors, but even that's kind of out the window. I wear black on Sundays sometimes, usually because I'm in mourning. But let's get to it. It's a good, bad, ugly show. It's also therapy. So if you have any grievances you want to air, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I almost want to go in reverse order here, almost like we're sandwiching these things. But we should start off with since it's a win, you want to start off with the ugly and shake things up a little bit?
I'll follow your lead.
Because I want to start off hot. I want to go in kind of crazy here because I talked about it earlier on the fan cave, and I'm still upset about it. There's sirens going off. They're upset about it too. But a lot of people are in the chat a little bit elevated on something that happened on Sunday. Kareem Jackson not only got flagged, but he got ejected from the game, and then found out today that he's now suspended 4 games. Alex does YouTube over in the chat, says that suspension was bullshit. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, and I want you all to bear with me for just a second. And I know that in the past that I have said plenty of things about Kareem Jackson, maybe could have been a little bit smarter about the things that he does. On replay, I watched that hit, I don't even know, dozens of times, and I could see where it looks very ugly. Justin Simmons was able to really quantify my full sentiment in what he was able to send out. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take the preference of a current NFL defensive back over anyone else's. You had Richard Sherman, you had PJ Locke, you had Justin Simmons, just to name a couple of people who were in support of Kareem Jackson and the way that he plays this game. Do I think that some of the hits in the past were a little bit questionable? Sure, but I don't know. In the game of the NFL, it's hard to tell intentionality, especially with referees who are standing there looking at the game real time. NFL games move really fast, and that speed is really hard to make those kinds of decisions in the way that you do. On Sunday, I do believe that he led with the shoulder. I do believe he made contact with the shoulder. He was aiming for the shoulder. And in this league, you get penalized for going low. you get penalized for going high, and then the next day people are calling you a lazy piece of shit because you missed a tackle. So let's talk about, first and foremost, what the era of football has done is Kareem Jackson is in his 14th year in the league, and we're talking about him hitting people too hard. When we know for a fact we celebrated him as a player when he was with the Houston Texans. If the Broncos were winning games and they were in playoff contention right now, the song would be different. I'm not going to tell fans how to root for the team. I'm not going to tell fans how to root for players. But if you're going to go onto the internet mere seconds after that happens and start calling for a man's job and head, and then you're going to be direct messaging him racist bullshit, I want nothing to do with you, and you can block me right now on social media. I don't. Because a lot of the people that I see coming onto Twitter and saying it was an ugly, deplorable hit and he should retire, he should be kicked out of the league, have never touched a football in their lives. And so I'm really upset about what has happened, because there's this now narrative that he's a dirty player, that he's a bad person, that he meant harm on the other player. And I know for a fact that's not fucking true. And so if you want to send it in the chat that you think that he's disgusting and it was a disgusting play, maybe hold your comments, at least for this stream. And so the ugly is the hit shouldn't have happened. No, I don't agree. Not in this case. It was a football play, and it was a damn good football play. And it's what we've been heralding Kareem Jackson for his entire career. And now all of a sudden it's a dirty play. I don't agree with it. I understand it was helmet to helmet. I understand that it looked really bad. It was not a bad football play. Guys, go ahead.
I agree with some of your points for sure. One, anyone taking shots at a player after a game is really bad. I think it's fair to analyze the game. Go, hey, this is costing our team. It's hurting the defense. It's putting a bad defense in even worse situations. They need to put a new safety out there. I don't think that's unfair, but don't at the player about it. Don't come at him with racist bullshit. Like Bree said, that's all wildly unnecessary. I think it's fair to want to hearken back to the days of old. I think it's fair to not like that this is an NFL rule. I think Kareem Jackson broke a rule. I think he's broken that rule 5 times this season. I think if you look at the letter of the law, and the NFL quotes it in their official release, it is a foul if a player forcibly hits the defensive player's head or neck area with the helmet, face mask, forearm, or shoulder, even if the initial contact is lower than the player's neck, and regardless of whether the defensive player also uses his arms to tackle the defensive player. So you can't, hit the defensive player. If you look at the NFL rule book, it will also say you can't initiate contact into the head or neck area, which, like, watch the replay. I do think he leads with his shoulder, but that shoulder hits directly into the helmet. This also isn't a new.
I don't think so.
I think it does, watching that replay. You don't think it does?
No, I don't think he hit the head. I don't think he hit the head.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Maybe I'll have to.
Am I tripping? Do you think that he hit the head on that?
When I watch the replay, I can tell where, like, he makes a necessary movement in his head to avoid contact. I know that it looks like maybe helmets had touched, but he doesn't hit the head with his shoulder. He's not leading with his helmet. That is involuntary contact. And so I understand that the way Kareem tackles looks really, really violent. And it looks very physical. And there has been moments in which you're like, why did you do that? But when an NFL player has to make sure that receiver does not get anywhere with the ball, he's coming in hot, and he is always coming hot. He has never changed his game, and he should not be required to. Find him when it's appropriate. I understand that there's been hits where there's been like, he shouldn't have done that, or maybe there was a split second of decision. But in this hit in its entirety, it's shoulder to shoulder. To me, that it was the intention was shoulder to shoulder. And I get it. By the lay of the law, by the lay of the land, the NFL has made player safety rules. But in the end of the day, who is it protecting?
I mean, players. We've seen head injuries go down
injuries
substantially.
Are still happening.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been eliminated.
Happening.
Seatbelts haven't eliminated car fatalities, but they have severely decreased them.
That's a crazy analogy to throw in there.
I mean, look at the data behind this. I also, one thing I will push back on is, like, the NFL has changed on Kareem Jackson. It hasn't. These are not new rules in any way. these rules have been in effect since 2011. The first rule, or I mean, the first year rather, that this rule was in effect, I was in the 6th grade. Like, he's had time to adapt. He had 2 seasons in the NFL where this wasn't a rule. I think just 1, but maybe 2 after Brees.
You're saying he
he'd been
hasn't
for 13
adapted
years.
his game whatsoever? Because I think
No.
he has gotten smarter with it.
No, I think he's totally adapted his game because he went 12 years or 11 years, whatever it was, up until this season without it being a constant problem. He's doing it 5 out of 7 games now. That's
being
like
targeted.
That's above 75%.
He's being targeted for his style of play.
Can I please enter this conversation?
There's other hard-hitting players that have been other hard-hitting players around the league.
But it's a narrative. Like, you're going to isolate Kareem Jackson as a dirty player, which is absolutely so far from the truth. Go ahead, Joey.
I don't think isolating him.
Thank you, everybody. I think you guys are both correct in different ways. Like, I think it was really close. I think it was very, very, very close. I don't think you can definitively say that was helmet-to-helmet contact. You can't definitively say that. There is not an angle out there where you can definitively say that is helmet-to-helmet contact. Yet the guy is getting suspended 4 games like we know it was. That is the problem with this. If we had an angle where we're looking at it, it's like, oh, Kareem Jackson, that's your 4th time doing that on the year. Like, that's crazy. You cannot do that. I would say deservingly so. But 4 games and we don't have an angle that proves that is nuts. That's crazy.
Prove to me that he's not getting targeted because the NFL wanted to drop a hammer on a player where they could paint as a dirt, so that they could paint a player as dirty.
You don't prove a negative. You have to prove a positive. I don't think. Like, I have not seen compelling evidence that they're targeting Kareem Jackson. Like, I have not seen the hits that Kareem Jackson is doling out all throughout the NFL. I think that said, there are missed ones. Absolutely.
I could understand the penalty, but they ejected him.
The ejection I get in the moment.
Offense? No, I don't. That was
I don't get the 4-game suspension.
The NFL referees were warned beforehand. There's no way you're ejecting that player for that hit.
You don't have to be warned beforehand. I mean, the player's gotten penalized for it 4 times already this season. You're already eyeing for it, and you're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. In that case, I'll agree.
Wrong.
But like when Jameis Winston, and this is a very different case, but like when Jameis Winston got in trouble off field the 4th time, like no one was giving him benefit of the doubt. When Kareem Jackson's going to hit a guy, and I do agree, it's not definitive helmet-to-helmet contact. The suspension is excessive. I pulled it up while we were talking and rewatched it. You don't have to, what Joey said, definitive helmet-to-helmet contact. The 4 games excessive, the NFL not giving him benefit of the doubt. I agree with. I don't know. You can't do. I don't think it's that crazy. Like, you just can't be doing this to people. He's done it 5 times this season, and it's not like this is happening to every safety. It is hard to play defense in the NFL. The NFL has been unfair to defensive players, hugely unfair. NFL scoring, every offensive stat skyrocketed in 2011. When did all these safety rules go into effect? 2011. That's not sheer coincidence. Like, I agree with a lot of these points. It's also just like, this has been the landscape for 12 years and it's happening at a much higher rate now. And I don't think it's fully excusable in that sense.
Joey, anything else you want to put towards the ugly?
Not off the ugly, but can I transition something just well, I don't know. I don't know if this is in your good or guys. I'm not. So I'll leave it alone. But my ugly was Damari Mathis. Benched. Didn't play really. And Moreau came in and he did a really good job in his spot. So it was like double ugly for him. Like, how does he get his job back? How do you even validate playing him over Riley Moss at this point, who we are yet to see? I find him, I think he's falling and sliding down the depth chart. Once you lose that position, I'm having a hard time seeing him get it back right now. So my ugly is Damari Mathis. It's just really, really ugly for him out there right now. Outside of him, like, I would say usually this would be in my I think that usually this would be in my bad, but it was a pretty good week, so it's hard for me to go elsewhere. Damari Mathis is in the ugly right now.
I like that pick a lot. That's disappointing, especially because he was one of the, like, jewels of that draft class, at least entering this season. It's nice that Nick Bonito emerged, but the Broncos might end up with like just getting Nick Bonito out of that draft class if Dulcich's hamstrings, continue to be a concern, which that hurts. Like to only get, and this team needs infusion time. Like even if they were just like good special teamers, like Jonathan Cooper up until this season was just like a nice rotational player. You're not even getting that from those picks, and it's it hurts. Riley Moss too. I think just because you're kind of hitting on third round corner, not at this point. It's worth noting he was a healthy scratch for the game. That is really concerning. We've seen him come back from injury, get special team snaps, and now get downgraded to a healthy scratch. Again, we are 7 games into the season, into his rookie year. This is not me saying it's done. This is not me using the dreaded 4-letter B word. I'm not going that far with any of it. This is not
like you are, Zach.
When you trade, they essentially spent a 4th and a 3rd round pick on this player. You would like, especially when cornerback has become such an area of need for the Broncos, you would like if he was able to contribute there, or at least if they trusted him as a backup. To this point, they don't, and that's a little disappointing.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the part about it, guys. I feel like the cornerback position is it's like an afterthought. Everyone wants to put all the blame on Vance Joseph, and he definitely deserves a ton of blame. But if I told you before the season that the Broncos cornerback room and their best version of their cornerback room at that, let's go off of that. Their best version, their cornerback room was going to be Patrick Surtain, Jaquan McMillian, and Fabian Moreau. How do you say his last name right now?
Wait, which one? McMillan?
No. Fabian
Moreau.
Fabian Moreau. You would say that this secondary is terrible, especially when you consider that Kareem Jackson's out for 4 games. Kane Stern's out for the season. So I don't know. It's just funny to look at now. It was a unit that I think on this podcast we said a lot, like probably more depth, guys. More depth would be fantastic. I'm kind of in the part of the season where I would like to see Riley Moss get some defensive reps, though, good, bad, or ugly. Hints to the show, word to the show. But, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy seeing where that room is now.
It's I don't know. It was such a strength, and now I don't know. I hope they figure it out. I give Patrick Surtain some help because it's so frustrating to have an elite cornerback with no help, because it's like he can't do anything on his own. They'll just throw elsewhere.
Zach, do you want to give your ugly? I don't have anything to add on here. I think you hit it on the head with it. It was kind of raising question marks across the board. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I think what's ugly right now is, and I think Joey's right. He's been tweeting about it a good bit, and I think Joey's right that it's like very funny and enjoyable, but I also think it's ugly, maybe in like a Jersey Shore type of way. The current discourse on Broncos Twitter, I have never seen and I am a survivor of the Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater days. I have never seen so many bad faith arguments or just people misunderstanding things. I don't know what it is, but I think something should be cleared up. One, if fans are going to enjoy a win, fucking let them. I don't know. I'm not into, and I'm pro Tank, but I am so not into you can't see the long view. It's I agree. Ultimately, yes, I do agree. I think it's a little short-sighted, but they're fans. They're fanatics, right? Who a lot of them just want to see a Broncos win because it makes them feel nice, right? And hey, I'm not going to fault anyone for that. It's not the way I'm consuming the Broncos this year, but not everyone has to consume the Broncos the way I'm consuming the Broncos. So to each their own. So party, celebrate the win. Absolutely. Go all out. I think it's silly. Anyone policing fandom is silly. It goes to later in the season too when people are like, oh, I hope we lose. This comes up occasionally. Let people be a Broncos fan however they want. If they want to be a very casual fan, but they just enjoy going to watch parties and hanging out with their friends and having some drinks and snacks, more power to it. Who fucking cares? Not everyone needs to be a diehard. Diehards can be diehards and enjoy it too. Not everyone has to be the same. Okay, that's part one. Part two, same maxim, let people want to tank. That doesn't make them a fake fan. I don't think it should be a foreign concept to everyone that like people have investments, right? You have money tied up somewhere and you could cash out that money right now and get money right now in your bank account, but you believe there'll be better gains down the road. So you keep that money elsewhere, right? Like it's a foundational building block of our society. It's not a crazy idea. And we've seen this demonstrated in the draft. What Peyton Manning did to the Indianapolis Colts. Look at the Indianapolis Colts before and after Peyton Manning. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals before and after Carson Palmer, and then before and after Joe Burrow. Look at the Jaguars before and after Trevor Lawrence. Like even Andrew Luck with the Colts that 1 year without Peyton Manning. Like Andrew Luck comes in, and yes, he didn't live up to the hype, but God, they got like 6 years of fun football. That would be nice as a Broncos fan. Sign me up for 6 years of fun football. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people being intentionally obtuse. Like tanking does not mean an expectation that players and coaches are throwing games. This is their livelihood. How they perform here depends whether or not they're going to be able to feed their families next year, or at least be getting a paycheck next year. They're not like, hey, I'm not going to be a part of this organization next year, but God, I hope Denver gets Caleb Williams. They don't give a fuck. They're trying to win. I just hope that because I think they're a bad team, the result is ultimately the one that benefits the team long term. But I'm not expecting anyone to throw games. I think anyone in the tanking community that is expecting thrown games is like such an outlandish, far radical minority that we shouldn't be giving them the time of day. I don't know. Let's all be rational. Can we all just be rational and reasonable people? I know that's probably an unfair.
Oh, no.
I'm throwing it out there.
I really liked Ryan Edwards' post earlier today. If you want the Broncos to tank and prefer to root for losses, that's your call. But please do me a favor and don't tell fans that are rooting for wins that they're wrong or short-sighted. Everyone wants the team to get better, and there are a lot of opinions on how they ultimately get there. Winning now doesn't mean the Broncos will miss out on an impact player, and simultaneously losing doesn't guarantee they'll draft a franchise-altering prospect. And that honestly hit every single buzzer that I've felt this entire narrative since we started talking about what the tank means for these teams. That really just kind of sends home how I feel about it in general, is feel how you're going to feel and stop talking down to everybody. Specifically, too, if they don't get it, they're just not going to get it. But also, I very much so agree that you're probably not missing out on a generational talent if you're picking third or fourth. So, but again, it's okay that we have different views there. That's why we talk about it as a community here on Let's Talk Broncos. Joey, go ahead.
Yes, as pro tank person since about week 2 of the thing. I want to just let people do what they want to do. What I do get tired of, though, and because it goes both ways, Ryan highlighted one way. The other way is that we're all just going to sit there and pretend like no one has any idea of why anyone would want to tank. I mean, it's pretty clear. I don't know how many times you gotta outline it, but it's for draft position. I don't know if I've said that enough on this podcast, but that is the reason. Yeah. But just let people do whatever they want. It's just silly sitting there. Everyone's pretending like they have no idea what the other side is even talking about. It's insane. Well, it's kind of fun though. It's like in the reality TV sense. It's a great time.
It muddies the water so much. I was talking with someone at my office this past week. They're not totally plugged in on my Broncos tanking takes. So they were like, man, how about those Broncos? Yeah, I'm not on board with the tanking. I agree this team has to rebuild, and I'm fine trading just about everyone outside of Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain. But I don't think they should tank. I'm all for a rebuild, but what we wanted the same thing. He's just anti-tanking because he thinks tanking means intentionally losing. There's such a messaging problem on this issue. I think if everyone could, I don't know, just level out a bit, it might make the waters a little cleaner. I'll share that with our small slice of Broncos country. So hopefully it gets some of the pollution out of the water, but I don't know, guys, let's be nice. It's a
Stay
game.
tuned for the Let's Talk Broncos Encyclopedia, where we'll start listing out definitions, a little bit of an index of sorts so that you understand when we reference tanking what we're actually talking about. I think that would be appropriate. We'll go ahead and post it. We'll blog it out, put it on the link tree, release it to the Discord members first. So if you'd like to join the Discord, let us know. Hit us up in the DMs, and we'll get you that link so you can come talk Broncos with us 24/7, because we literally can't get enough. Guys, I'm going to switch it over to badges because I think this all bleeds together. In general, I don't know if I have a whole lot of concerns other than I think Russell Wilson has a really hard time making decisions right now. And I don't know if that's a cause or for a proponent of, you want to talk about having a good game. Garrett Bowles is in the good column, but all of a sudden Russell Wilson's looking bad when he's not getting pressure off that side. So talk to me a little bit about what was bad, because Russell Wilson didn't look great.
Russell Wilson would have been one of my picks. I'll double up with you because there wasn't a lot of bad in this game. It is a little tougher. My graphics were just kind of me taking shots. Like I had a Packers fan up on the last one because I was like, maybe we'll talk about how there were a lot of Packers fans in the stadium. That was kind of ugly. I gotta take some shots in the dark here. So don't get mad at me for the graphics. But I fully agree on the Russell Wilson one. He was playing good to start the season. I think the counting stats were inflated, but you had people tweeting about like, hey, he's a top 5 quarterback. He's playing great. The past 3 weeks. So this is almost half the season now. Yeah, 3, pretty close to half of 7. Among what? 24 quarterbacks with at least 70 plays on the field. He ranks 21st. He is ahead in EPA per play. He is ahead of PJ Walker, Josh Dobbs, Zach Wilson. That's pretty tough. He's behind Derek Carr. This is again past 3 weeks. Derek Carr, Mac Jones, Sam Howell, Jordan Love. I mean Baker Mayfield, who's been coming back down to earth. I don't know. He's really not been great. I think his inability to handle pressure and frankly just bail out of clean pockets is making the offensive line look a lot worse than they are. We've talked about pass block win rate on here a couple of times. That's calculated by if you hold your block for 2.5 seconds. Look at average time to throw in the league. If all your offensive linemen are holding their block for 2.5 seconds, you should be good to get a play off. So how are the Broncos top 10 in pass block win rate? And everyone sees like Russ scrambling for his life and running for his life and everything. It's a Russ problem. That's why if you look at PFF tracks pressures by position, like who is creating the pressure, Russ is right near the top of the league in terms of quarterback created pressures. The only person higher than him is Aaron Rodgers. There's 2. Aaron Rodgers, who had 2 dropbacks on the season, responsible for 100% of his pressures. Anthony Richardson, who's responsible for 28.6% of his pressures. And then right there at number 3, Russell Wilson, responsible for 24.7% of his own pressures. This is a Russ problem.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat up on Russ. Was it a great game? No, it wasn't. Has he been not great in the last 3 games now? He hasn't been. But hey, hard for me to be all that too upset when the Broncos win. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Do you guys
Boo! Switzerland. Go ahead and take a stab in the dark.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm glad
fence rider Joey.
I'm glad Zach mentioned that there was far too many freaking cheeseheads in the stands, because honestly, the Go Pack Go chants were starting to irritate me above all else. Danny Bailey pointed out today to me that apparently Green Bay is an international franchise. I didn't realize they were so beloved here in Denver, but I saw a jersey that was split, Green Bay and Broncos. And guys, I already sent it to you, so I can't ask you who you think the player was, but if the chat wants to chime in, try to guess this player right, go ahead. It was disgusting, and I hated that it existed. Joey, do you have a bad?
I do have a bad. You know who is down bad, guys?
Who, Joey?
Who, Joey?
Richard Flowers, down bad. For people that don't know, this guy has been taking shots at Sean Payton since he was hired. He runs the Quarterback Collective account. He's an agent for Kyle Shanahan tree people. So that includes Nathaniel Hackett, which is why he's mad at Sean Payton, for everyone that doesn't know. But you know who else he represents? A man named LaFleur in Green Bay. And what does Sean Payton do? Beat him. Richmond Flowers, I saw no tweets this week. What happened? What happened, Richmond Flowers? So yeah, that's who is down bad.
Zach, do you have anything for that?
I love it. I did not think of this pick. I was thinking about it before the game. Haven't thought about it since. That's pretty great. Yeah, the Packers, by the way, they're looking bad. Jordan Love looks pretty bad. I don't know, man. They're in a rough spot right now.
So. We have Frankie's film in the chat right now saying Henningson's mom guaranteed, or minors, but it's Henny. No, it was a Jordan Love jersey. Can't figure it out. Don't know fucking why, but I did see a Jordan Love split Packers Broncos jersey.
Wait, was it split Packers Broncos? I thought it was split like Packers and then alternate Packers, where it was like white Packers on one side and yellow Packers on the other.
No, it was not. I'm trying not to air people on the internet, so I'll just get their butts in here.
They're packing. Yeah, that's a disgusting. Why would you get a Jordan Love Bronco?
Don't buy the half and halves to begin with. I don't care.
How did you do that? Like, you had to go custom make that.
Were they a big Broncos and Packers fan that was hoping that one of their two franchises would draft Jordan Love, and then they bought that? I don't get how you get that jersey. That is very puzzling.
And it's a website called AliExpress. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
Why? No, me and my brother could only ask this question repeatedly. We literally said it for about 20 minutes trying to figure out what was happening. So, yeah, I hope that it was somebody who really loves Jordan Love, but still Packers and Broncos. I don't understand what I'm puzzled. I'm still puzzled about it. I keep asking people in case somebody can come back and tell me. He went to Utah State and he went to high school at Liberty in Bakersfield. So it's like, I do not understand what is happening. But
it's a fun.
Frankie is our Wisconsin insider, so I don't know if we can get any info from Frankie. Have it in the chat.
I think that's really good. It's a good like conversation piece. Like, old couples buy weird things and put it in the middle of their living room to be a conversation piece. I think that's a good one because there's just like so many questions.
I buy skeletons, like real skeletons, and I put them in my house so that people then have to make uncomfortable eye contact with me when they ask about them. To each their own. Jordan Love jersey is not the direction I would go. Zach, did you have any other bad from the game?
Bad. No, I don't think so. Like, it went a little underrated. The offensive line penalty that took away a touchdown, that sucked.
Yeah.
I'll use this moment to amend a statement from my Frankie. Stock up, stock down. I shouldn't have been so kind to Vance Joseph. They had not updated this week's stats yet, and deeper dives show that any real signs of defensive improvement outside of like improving from 32nd to like 31st or 30th is really buoyed by the Jets game. They did play well in the Jets game. Probably a good bit of that Zach Wilson though, and the improvement these last 2 weeks, at least in the eyes of EPA per play, is pretty overstated. This is still a stinky defense. He should not have been my stock up pick. I'll give you my stock up pick when we get to what was good. Oh, perfect.
Whoa,
man, we got a professional running the show.
Whoa, that looks good. That looks fantastic. I am all down with this graphic. I am going to mix mine up because this is what I do here. Yes, Zach, congratulations. Applause. I'm not reaching for the audio because I don't have the loop off and it's just going to cause problems. Patrick Surtain's interception, which is what I'm going to call it since he got freaking robbed, coupled alongside, obviously, PJ Locke, which I don't want to take from y'all. I'll let you have the floor with that friend of the program, PJ Locke. But just Patrick Surtain straight on caught that ball. And that was an interception. And I saw it happen, and I was like, that's an interception. So very confused as to what happened as I wasn't watching the broadcast. I was in the stadium. But I want to throw that up there as a good because to me, the defense was freaking hunting. That's what I like to see. I did like Alex Singleton stuffing an individual and then walking over him with such swagger that I saw it from the opposite end zone. Overall, the vibes were pretty good for being such a deplorable score for the first half and onward. Go ahead, Joe. You seem to be shaking your head in agreement, or maybe you're ready to tear me up. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you, Bree. I have nothing else to add. Yeah, I think you nailed that. You did a great job. I totally agree. Do you want me to go? I'll go if you guys really want me to go right now.
If you have nothing to add to that, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, everybody. I have Broncos offensive line as good. That's why I was shaking my head no when Zach was saying the penalty, even though that was bad. That was bad. But I didn't want it to overshadow the main point, of which the Broncos offensive line has been catching hell for a lot of issues that I don't think are necessarily their fault this year. Mike McGlinchey hasn't been good. He has not been good at all, matter of fact. But the offensive line as a whole, the other four guys, plus Mike McGlinchey does have some strengths as an offensive lineman. They're a good unit. The Broncos' running attack has been good this entire season. We just haven't been able to see it because the Broncos fall behind so quickly this season, it feels like. So we're passing with Russell Wilson a ton. But if go look at the numbers, Broncos' rushing attack has looked awesome, and I want to shout out the offensive line for that. Mike McGlinchey was really doing his thing in the run. I thought the entire offensive line was. So shout out to them, as it really didn't feel like our running backs were being touched much at the line of scrimmage at all. They were getting 3 yards of space, and then it was go. It was really, really good job from them. Yeah,
I agree. I'll tag Joey's here with shout out to Javonte Williams. Was Frankie's stock up in our stock up, stock down show, and just has been, man, that was the first game where it looked like Javonte Williams was back. Where like he had the burst, he had a little more explosiveness to his running, because he hasn't just always been like a power back. It's why I've always thought he was better than Najee Harris, even when Najee Harris was getting more love his rookie year. I was like, Najee Harris doesn't have that gear. He doesn't have any juice to him. Javonte Williams had some juice back. I hope we see that the rest of this season. If we see that the rest of the season, I'll be so happy. Like that. That's just fun football. I love the running back position. I think unfortunately you have to team build around it in certain ways, but I do love the position. I love scouting the position. I love watching the position, and Javonte Williams is so fun to watch. Glad that pairing him with that mauling offensive line is going to be fun to watch this year, next year, and hopefully for a while to come.
What percentage would you guys put at Javonte Williams being 100% right? I'm curious. This is always an interesting discourse. I don't. People like to say, "Is he all the way back?" Not. Yeah, just like as a runner, athletically, is he breaking the same amount of tackles? You think he's like 85% back?
That's what I'm saying. 85, 90. I don't think it's like 75. Maybe that's where I would have put. Before this last game, I think you saw some more of that burst back. We see that more sustained, I'd say closer to 95, maybe 100.
I would say that it's pretty par on course for what we've seen from Javonte Williams. I don't think that he's lacking anything right now. I think what's lacking is the ability to open up some of those lanes for him. I know he's used to running through people, but Quinn Miners isn't pulling him through crowds anymore. So I'm just trying to anticipate what is actually slowing him down. And I don't think it's his capacity. I think that maybe he's just slowed down a little bit, and that's the vision he wants moving forward for his game. I don't think you're going to see the gameplay from Javonte Williams that you did last season prior to injury. I think you're going to see this much more mellow style. I think that he's moving quite well, quite quick. He's making all the turns and cuts that I'd want to see from that running back, and he's not really getting stuffed too easily. But I wanted to point out too, Jaleel McLaughlin looked absolutely stunning out there. A lot of long breakaways. So I think that as long as Javonte Williams is feeling 100%, then I'm going to assume that's his 100%.
Yep. Come up with a better quote than the rain thing, though. That did not hit hard. I'm okay workshopping that. I don't know if you guys caught it. The play-by-play and the color commentator talked about how during the week they had a discussion with Javonte Williams and what was it? Javonte said, in this backfield, Jaleel is lightning, Samaje is thunder, and so I guess that makes me rain. Javonte, come up with something better than your.
I thought it was funny
because thunder and lightning are the cool ones, and you deserve to be better than rain, my man. Like workshop it. We'll try and come up with something to help you over at the Let's Talk Broncos podcast, but
He's gotta be like
little
hurricane
better
or
day.
something. Although that's kind
That'd
of
be fun. The
damaging.
storm. That's fun. Yeah.
Rain is, I know, like thunderstorm, like, or the storm. Like,
The
I think
flash
that would
flood.
make.
You know,
I have a
just
take.
dial it up
I
a
have a
little.
take. Pirine isn't more thunder than Javonte.
No, yeah, he should be rain.
Javonte is also just more lightning than Samaje as well. And so, we got to give him that participation award, but that's not really what's going on out here. Javonte is thunder with a little bit of lightning.
Yeah, he's both. Yeah. He's both. But they got to come up with a better – there's something there. They can come up with a fun nickname for this three-headed monster in the backfield. I like it. I'm going to go with another emerging offensive weapon, Courtland Sutton. I am happy to see him doing good. My mom can't be mean to me now because I'm saying nice things about Courtland Sutton. He's played good football these past 2 weeks. I think the fumbles were really unfortunate. He's a good player. I think if the Broncos trade him at the deadline, whatever fan base gets him might be surprised by how good he is. I think if he was able to operate, I forget which one of you tweeted this out today, but if he was able to operate like properly as a number 2 in this offense, he'd probably look a lot better. Or just had like consistently good quarterback play. I think you can argue Russell Wilson's the best quarterback play he's had his entire career, and it's not very good. Like, I think there's a very good chance, and I think it could happen with Jerry Jeudy too. I just think there's more maturity problems too. Courtland Sutton's not outstanding, but he's a very good receiver. He's good at a lot of things, and he'll help a team, on a postseason run if the Broncos trade him.
Where are all those people who were calling out effort on Courtland Sutton earlier this season? Because I got something to tell you. You're off base. You're wrong. And Courtland Sutton is doing exactly what you'd want to see from him. I know that there's an unfair narrative that we'd want to see 2019 Courtland Sutton. That's just not going to happen right now. And honestly, what he's doing is extending plays. There's a lot of good things going on with Courtland. And he's got 5 touchdowns in 6 games or 7 games. So I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of what Courtland Sutton does. I like to see him succeed. I don't think that they trade him. I think he stays on the team, honestly. Joey, I can feel you radiating from here.
Yes, you can, Bree, because I am. I'm ready to go. I think that this is the issue with both Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. It's very similar. The issue and the criticism is to why people – you see the negative perception or point of view of these guys is because they're not living up to other people's expectations that they set in their brain. That's the only reason why. Guys, just because Courtland Sutton isn't DeAndre Hopkins, that doesn't make him a bad football player. Just because Jerry Jeudy was drafted where he was, and he's not living up exactly to that standard, that doesn't make him a bad football player. It just, okay, you're not living up to my expectation of you. And there's maybe a level down from that, right? Jerry Jeudy could go to another team and be a good football player just like he is here. You don't stumble in the NFL and get multiple 800-yard seasons and me call you bad. That's just something that doesn't happen. That's impressive in its own right. Courtland Sutton the same way. Courtland Sutton's had a lot of success. Maybe like I said, he's not DeAndre Hopkins. He's not A.J. Brown. But Courtland Sutton is a damn good football player. And what really, Zach, you hit on it earlier, would separate these guys and make Broncos country appreciate them more is if they did have that true number 1 game-breaking wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr.-esque, one of those type guys with Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, where they can take some of that negative light off of them, where we're happy with that 800 yards that you're giving us because we have a guy giving us 1,500 on the other side. That they would be really good in a role like that. And it sucks that they're kind of boxed in the way they are. Guys, take that perception out of your brain. That doesn't make them that bad. Be realistic with it.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we've seen in Miami and Philadelphia, where you have these all pro caliber receivers come in and allow everyone to slide down a spot. Devonta Smith is no longer your number 1. He's your number 2. Dallas Goedert's no longer your number 2 pass catching option. He's your number 3. Similar thing happened in Miami, and everything flows better. I do have to say, Bree kind of left PJ Locke for us, and then we didn't take him. And he's a friend of the show, so I'll say all 3 of us are picking him for what's good because we got to give him some love. I think there's a strong case, and I'm making sure to bring this up here and not during our earlier conversation, because I don't think it's related to our earlier conversation. I think it's just about where the Broncos are at now and where PJ Locke is at now. I think PJ Locke should be starting for this team at safety, not because of whatever helmet stuff. I think like that's a small part of it, just because like 15-yard penalties hurt your defense. But a classic Parcellsism talks about a progress stopper, where you have an older player who isn't long for the team and he's taking up snaps that could be going to a young, talented guy that could maybe be developing, maybe become an answer for your team. But that player's not getting those opportunities because there's this aging vet in front of him. Bill Parcells calls that a progress stopper. That's the situation the Broncos are in right now. And Kareem Jackson is so valuable in that safety room. Keep him in that safety room. Keep him coaching guys up. There are situations, second and shorts, third and shorts, where you can get Kareem Jackson on the field and still play this guy. PJ Locke has a chance to be the Broncos starting safety next year and 2 years from now. And it could be a long-term answer at the safety position. That is not happening with Kareem Jackson. He could maybe be like a really short-term answer for another year or something, but not like PJ Locke. PJ Locke, I'm not saying he will be, but he could be a long-term answer at the position. You won't know that until you give it a try. Give it a try.
PJ also, the thing I love about PJ Locke, man, and even before he came on the show, this isn't even a bias take. This is just actually what's happening out there. Every single time the guy has gotten a shot, he proves he belongs or he should be in a better role or give me a shot. That's the type of performance he has every single time. Going back to the preseason, right? Every single preseason, PJ Locke has a great preseason, and we really don't see him much in the regular season. Now he gets some regular season play, and he makes the play of the game on something that he really wasn't even supposed to do. He went out there and made a hell of a play. That wasn't Vance Joseph. You heard Justin Simmons talk about it after the game, guys. What did he say? They had a perfect play against the defense that we ran. PJ Locke just read the play. He knew what was coming, and he made a play, came out of what even he was coached to do to make that play. So give PJ Locke more run. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. You've already mentioned it. Friend of the program. I know we were all excited. All of us were sending our chats right after it happened. And honestly, it sealed the win, and I couldn't ask for more. Guys, anything else you wanted to mention on the show? I know a lot of people are shouting out Lutz. Thank you for doing your job, Will Lutz.
Oh, no. We're gonna praise Will Lutz here on this podcast. 93%. 93%. What's both your guys? Because I was on here. There's the Will Lutz defender. What's Maher up to nowadays? Has anyone checked up on what he's doing?
He is. Let me see if I could find it.
I saw the stats.
He's towards the bottom. He is in terms of field goal accuracy. He is ranked 29th. So I will straight up say it. I'm happy to eat crow. Whatever I'm wrong, I was wrong here. I didn't want to bank on Will Lutz because let's be real. You look at his last 2 years, it seemed hard to believe he'd suddenly bounce back. There's the argument he's coming back from injury. Well, his worst healthy season was his most recent healthy season, and it wasn't good. So I thought
he was hurt. He said he was hurt during that healthy season. By the way,
okay, well, fair. At least based on when he.
I would say that too.
Injury. When you look at the date of the newspapers reporting on his injury, it was at the end of that season. So maybe he said otherwise, and maybe otherwise was the case. But when I was looking into it, that's why I came to that assumption. Right now, though, there's 5 kickers that are perfect on the season. And then you've got Kaimi Fairburn, Greg Zerline, and Younghoe Koo. All with 1 missed kick, but they've attempted more than Will Lutz. And then you've got Will Lutz right there at number 9. Not bad. Good move, Sean Payton.
Wow.
The chat is making me laugh, and I can't highlight most of them. So if you want to get in on this action, you got to search Let's Talk Broncos over on YouTube. And while you're there, subscribe. You don't even have to turn the notifications on. If you just subscribe to our channel, you can come watch your videos whenever you want. Mondays, you have the good, the bad, the ugly after Sunday games. Tuesday, you have the Let's Talk Buff show with Zach Seegers and Mario Vitanzi. Wednesday, you get the trio back +2 as Brandon Perna and Will Keys join us for That's good Broncos talk. Thursday, you got the Thursday show with Joey Richards and Frankie's Films. And then Friday, we're back as a trio again. Plus Sunday, you get the immediate react show. We might as well add a Saturday show at this point because it's all Broncos all the time. Nobody can compete with us. That's just how it goes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for continuing to support us. And make sure you like the stream, as Alex Does YouTube is shouting at me right now in order to put up on the screen. Alex Does YouTube, really appreciate you being basically our fourth member tonight, as you're putting up all those likes. If you're not liking the stream, I can see the 16 of you currently still in this chat. Do it, and do it now. And we bid
YouTube tells us. YouTube tells us who's watching and isn't liking the stream. We know who you are. Jeremy.
I mean, Coop liked the stream. Dante already liked it. First one to do it. Paul, obviously. Sniper. I'm shouting out everybody who came through today. Rock, Boggins is in here. There's so many people. I'm gonna forget people. I'm scrolling. Joey's here. Zach's here. Frankie, obviously. Samuel Castro, always in the chat. Carter. Solstice Fly, we really appreciate you. Rich and HH. Oh, wait, we had a question from Rich and HH. I forgot to get
like the end of an NPR radio show. Jesus.
Rich and HH asked this question. I wanted to get it answered, and I forgot to ask you guys. This is the last thing, and I'm clicking the end button. Besides having the worst record at the end of the season, what other things help get to the first round pick? Losing streaks also count? Noob with that, thanks. You guys are the perfect people to break this down for Rich and HH.
Totally. Just having the worst record at the that's all that matters. I think ideally, if you were to draw up the perfect scenario, it would probably be like lose the rest of the way, but like beat the Chiefs. I don't know. Like if you could have one cool thing to hang your hat on, I think you want to lose and lose close. Like I think the Lions are a pretty great example of a rebuild I'd point to with the Broncos. Like they stripped down that roster, they empowered young players, they went, hey, we're going to lose, but we're going to play really hard, we're going to fight, we're going to compete in these games, we're going to be close. Dolphins frankly did the same thing during their tank under Brian Flores, where it was like, hey, that team has no talent, but they're clearly playing hard, they look well coached, which I don't think has been the case so far. And hey, you get some better players on this team, the future's bright, maybe they develop a little. That's the you gotta just have the worst record. I would hope it's a worst record that features a lot of close losses. I think that's ideal.
I like what Rock's saying in the chat right now. He says lose and make people feel bad when you win. I'm joking, obviously, but I'm clearly joking. But yeah, I would say just like beat the good team. If you have to beat a good team, like Zach said, the Chiefs, lose to all the bad teams. New England, you got to lose to. You got to lose to them. That's the way you have to do it. I guess trading up also could happen, but it's not going to happen because anyone there is going to draft a quarterback. So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right, we'll end on that note, and we'll see you tomorrow from Let's Talk Broncos. Good night. Happy Victory Monday.